Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Future Ready Tax Firm, Automation, AI, and the Competitive Advantage. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and SafeSend. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for at least 50 minutes. In addition, we will display 4 polling questions during the webcast. You will need to record an answer for at least 3 of these questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching the event. Later today, you will receive an email from CPA Practice Advisor that contains a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the requirements for CPE. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people watching on the same computer. So if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event at the same computer, please have them join you now. And at the end of the event, we'll provide an opportunity for you to send us their email addresses so they too can receive CPE credit. At any time, you can enter any questions you might have in the Ask a Question box provided on your screen, and our speaker will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during this live webinar will be addressed by the speaker afterwards via email. The slides are available for downloading by clicking the Event Resources option at the bottom left side of your screen and then clicking on the PDF file that is displayed. Also, the archived version of this presentation will appear on the CPA Practice Advisor website after the event ends. CPE credit, however, will not be available for those watching the archived version. So today we're joined by Dave Cossey, Sales Engineer at SafeSend. And now, Dave, we're ready to begin.
Okay, thank you very much, Gail. And welcome, everyone. Thank you to CPA Practice Advisor for having me here today. We're going to talk about the Future Ready Tax Firm and how technology is being leveraged in the industry to help with automation, the role of AI in the tax and accounting industry, and how tech-forward firms have a competitive advantage. Quick agenda here, just so we're all on the same page. Again, my name is Dave Cossey. I'm a solutions consultant, sales engineer, same type of title, at Thomson Reuters, focusing on the SafeSend product and workflow automation. So today, we're going to talk about why the status quo no longer works. I'll also present some advantages that the tech-forward firm has over other firms. And finally, what your firm needs to do to realize tech changes, or in other words, actionable steps toward a technology adoption. If we have time at the end, or potentially throughout, if you had those questions populated into the questions area, I'll try to address those, but hopefully we'll have some time at the end to cover that. So the status quo no longer works. Basically, navigating industry-wide staffing shortages and evolving client expectations, along with a compressed filing season, all point to the need for technology to augment and enhance your firm to face those challenges head on. Just to put some statistics in front of you, I'm sure that you've already seen this type of thing before, but let me put it into some context here. 300,000 accountants left the workforce between 2020 and 2023. This means that one person or multiple people have left every single CPA firm in the US each of those 4 years. And they have either quit the business or they've retired. 70% of CPAs are set to retire in the next decade. That's an average of about 45,000 retirements per year. There's been a 17% decline in accounting graduates from 2019 to 2021. 82% of firms cite staffing as their top issue to address. So before we go any further, I'd like to launch our first polling question. So Gail, if you could launch that for us.
Absolutely. The first question is, does your firm's tax workflow help mitigate the effects of the staffing shortage in the tax and the accounting profession? And your possible answers are yes, but staffing is not an issue for us, or yes, but there is more we can do, or no, or not sure. So pick the answer that's most closely aligned with your own situation, and then click the submit button to send your answer in.
All right, so early results are actually showing almost a split between answer choice B, yes, but there's more we can do, and not sure. So that's probably a good reason why you're here today, to kind of learn about how workflow can be enhanced through technology to help with staffing shortages that are going on throughout the industry. So thanks for taking the time to answer that. We will move on to the next slide here. Talking about client technology expectations, they've significantly evolved just in the last 5 years. So with things like virtual meetings, the client expectation of having a Zoom or Teams or other virtual meeting with their CPA firm or any other professional that they hire, that's gone up exponentially, pre-COVID versus post-COVID. Even 34% of clients over the age of 55 expect to meet virtually at some point. Going along with that, the kind of row down, doctors, hospitals, medical systems, and even insurance providers are changing their expectations as well, with portals, teledoc visits, among other things. So clients have come to expect more technology with their medical care, along with everything else. And online shopping has even exploded in recent years. So, you know, you thought Amazon was popular before. You should take a look at the booming success now. Now, something that we've tracked here at SafeSend, being a tax and accounting industry focused technology company, this is specifically regarding electronically delivered and e-signed tax returns, is that 96% of these electronically delivered returns were e-signed within 2 weeks. But the average is much lower, and that's less than 3 days to complete their e-signature on a tax return 8879s. So why are firms winning with a technology adoption and automation? They are winning in a few ways. So first, providing a client experience that is faster, more efficient, and less frustrating. This not only benefits clients, but it helps the firm. It means that there's less client-related stress in the firm, and it gives time back to the staff. Second, being tech-forward projects that your firm is more modern and sets you apart from your less tech-forward or less tech-focused competition. Third, having technology in place that helps someone with their job means that the work they do can be more meaningful and improve work-life balance. I know that term work-life balance is kind of cliche, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a later slide. The right technology can also ensure data security and compliance. we know that that kind of thing is ever evolving in the tax and accounting industry. And just keeping up with that can be a challenge sometimes. That's why technology solutions that you adopt that are tax and accounting industry focused, they are keeping those in mind and making those updates when they need to occur. These 4 wins can also lead to greater efficiency and savings directly with reductions in temporary staff or overtime, and indirectly by allowing staff to focus on higher value activities. And I know we just had a polling question, but I have another one set for you. So Gail, if you could launch that one, that would be great.
All right, excellent. This is our second of 4 polling questions. Which of these problems are the top priority for technology to address in your firm? And the answer options are staffing shortage, reduce manual tasks, improve the client experience, augment security, or reduce costs. So which one is the top priority for you that could be addressed by technology? And I neglected to mention on the last polling question, if you have any problem answering the questions on screen, you can go ahead and put your answer in that Ask a Question box and we'll record it there.
All right. Looks like most of the polling results are in, and over 50% are saying to reduce manual tasks. So that's something that is definitely things that I hear from firms that I talk with every day. They want to reduce those manual tasks. There's a couple of reasons why they want to reduce manual tasks. Number one, like I already shared, giving staff more meaningful work. Sometimes if it's a sole proprietor that I'm talking to, maybe they just left a larger firm where they had admin doing some of those tasks for them. They didn't have to deal with it at that point, but now they're out on their own, running their own firm. So all of that work is now falling onto their shoulders, and they're looking at ways to help with automating manual tasks or reduce manual tasks, things like that. So let's take a look at a couple of these in some further detail. So focusing first on the talent attraction and staff retention. So if you are in a firm that where you would like to expand your team, then if your firm wants to attract and retain that top talent, a modern work environment, which includes more remote or hybrid options, goes a long way, especially with younger professionals. Firms with old and inefficient processes that are lacking in technology solutions may not be attractive to that demographic. They might hear and immediately get a headache. Who knows? Also, focusing on meaningful work instead of manual busy work is much more fulfilling to everyone in the firm. Along with that, learning a new technology and keeping up with industry trends is a great pathway to professional development. So you're keeping your mind fresh on new and emerging technologies. You're able to be more on the cutting edge. Now, I know it sounds too good to be true, and I mentioned this a little bit before, but actually achieving work-life balance during busy season is possible when you leverage the right technology for your firm. Now, I've spoken with firms who have been able to drastically reduce or even eliminate the need for staff overtime during busy season with technology adoptions. Those technology adoptions addressed key workflow issues that they had in their firm, and it made their entire engagement process more efficient. So that's going to be something key that we'll talk about, or that I'll talk about in a couple of minutes here, about the right technology adoption for your firm. And then finally, a tech-forward firm that operates efficiently is very attractive when it comes to succession planning, which includes mergers and acquisitions. So put yourself into the shoes of a tech-forward firm looking to acquire a firm, and you have two choices. One that's very paper-oriented and one that is tech-forward like you are. My guess is you'll be more likely to invest in that tech-forward firm because that paper-oriented firm might come with some challenges that you might not be willing to take on at that point. The next thing we'll address here is security and compliance benefits. There's benefits to the right technology adoption as well. If you're looking at technologies to help encrypt data transfers and have encrypted storage, that ensures that firm and client data is kept safe from cyber attacks or identity thieves. The solutions specific to the tax and accounting industry that keep data security top of mind will also provide you, the end user, with audit trails for complete compliance documentation. That could be crucial at certain points. Another issue here is multi-factor authentication. That has become essential in this day and age. And the solutions that have developed processes that are easy for clients to navigate should be at the top of the list for your consideration. Security updates and regular monitoring ensure that these solutions are ahead of the curve, which provides peace of mind for you and your clients. Now, you've probably all heard of the SOC examinations, SOC 1, SOC 2. There's also another layer of this that should be considered as well. And you should feel free to ask this whenever you're evaluating a technology solution. You should see if they voluntarily submit to penetration testing. So what that means is they're hiring a third-party company to try to ethically hack their environment. They're trying to simulate a data breach or cause a data breach. And if they can do that, that means the company has work to do in order to really secure their platform. If a firm, or if not a firm, but if a technology company willingly submits to that, and they are able to say, hey, we've gotten green flags on this penetration testing for the last X number of years in a row, then you know that they're doing something right. So that would be something to really consider. Now, let's switch over to efficiency, and I'll give you an example of a firm that did a study before and after doing a technology adoption, and what they were able to realize with that adoption. So Honkamp, they had at one point a very paper-oriented process. Yes, they're a larger firm. They had digital processes as well, but there were a lot of clients that were resistant for some reason to take on a more digital process. So they brought on another tool that made it easier for clients. So they did a comparison in that paper process versus an electronic process. So it's about a return, assembly, and delivery tool that helped collect e-signatures as well. So when they were looking at their paper process, they totaled up the average cost to assemble and deliver a paper return to a single client. It came out to $47.25. Now, I don't know off the top of my head when this study was done, but it seems to me that $7 for postage, which you can see in one of the line items here, that seems like a bargain to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if the cost of processing a paper return for delivery is in the $60 range right now. Now, a lot of firms that I speak with that have a similar process still absorb that cost, and that eats into their profit margins. The firms that are now charging clients for a paper copy of the return, they're only in slightly better shape because their workflow is still manual and focused on that busy work component. Now, Honkamp adopted that software solution that helped automate the manual tasks involved with a paper return delivery. Now, yes, purchasing that software was a cost. And at first glance, it seems like a big chunk of change. But when you put it in context and compare it to the entire paper-oriented process and the costs that go into that, the only cost that really remained after the software was a nominal cost for admin labor to manage that software and process the return. This led to a net savings of almost $50,000 annually over their paper process. So needless to say, they were very happy with that type of thing. Now, if we were just to take one of those processes there, speaking specifically in terms of e-filing, there was another firm that did a study on automating e-filing, and that was Pinion. They took the automation step to connect a workflow tool with their tax software by the way of an API. If you're not familiar with APIs, simply put, it's a software bridge that connects software programs that don't normally interface with each other. Once the application they use to collect e-signatures on 8870 received, completed, and e-signed forms, the API communicated back to the tax software automatically to e-file the returns with the taxing authorities. Now, their old process meant that admin staff needed to spend 3 to 5 minutes per return, depending on complexity, to ensure that signature completion and e-file of the return in the tax software was done properly. Automating the e-file process saved that 3 to 5 minutes per return. Multiply that by the hourly admin staff rate, and you've got just over $3 of savings per return. Now that software that they adopted, that was the one that was collecting e-signatures on all of the 8879s and made sure that that was correct before marking it as complete. So that was an automated thing. The firm did not have to go in and check to make sure they signed on the right lines because the software was doing that for them. So this also meant that they were able to reduce e-filing hourly costs by leveraging a software that has an open ecosystem, allowing for API connections. I think we'll talk about API connections a little bit later, but that is another possibility that a lot of firms are looking at, is connecting tech stack with API connections. So we've seen a couple of examples of how firms have become more efficient, saved some money by automating processes. But what is really the cost of inaction? Now, there's a couple of them. There may not be all monetary, though. There are some costs that can't really be measured with dollars and cents. So we'll take a look at those here real quick. First, manual processes eat up too much billable time. I'm talking about the processes that lead to miserable busy seasons. You've all experienced those. The endless client back and forth to get documentation and information. The tedious task of taking in and organizing client documents. I could go on and on about the first mile of the tax engagement. The last mile has its challenges as well. Somebody printing a tax return either to a PDF file or printing it in paper, and then someone's manually collating that tax return to put it in the exact order that you want to present it to a client. Then you have to prepare that for delivery somehow. There's an e-signature tool that you're using that's not connected to the tax software. That's other task. It's just repetitive, busy work. Also, there's a cost when clients are frustrated. That could mean that it leads them to seek out another CPA. The cost back to the firm means that you might have to increase your marketing efforts just in order to replace that lost revenue from clients leaving. Another cost that can't be really qualified in dollars is staff burnout. Staff burnout could lead to higher turnover, means that you might not be able to replace that. So definitely something to consider. Your firm could be at a competitive disadvantage in multiple ways, not just in talent acquisition. When clients have an easy experience with their CPA firm, they're more likely to come back if they are able to understand everything that not only the firm is asking for, but able to really digest their tax return in a meaningful way. And that could even be with an electronic delivery. Then that puts those firms at an advantage over a firm that's using some confusing methods there. Inaction means that you will likely have to deal with higher operational costs and lower profit margins. So if you don't have something to help with workflow automation, you might be looking at lower growth capacity, trying to make up for higher costs and lower margins because because of that lost revenue, and that becomes more difficult and stressful for you. Now, every firm kind of knows their capacity. If you try to extend yourself beyond that, that's when some problems could happen. So make sure to have that in mind as well. Now let's take a moment on all of those things that we've talked about so far. The costs, the efficiencies that have been seen with other firms, maybe what you've already been thinking about in terms of a technology adoption. And just take a moment to consider those things. While you're doing that, let's move on to our next polling question. So if you could launch that, please, Gail.
Okay, this is polling question number 3. What is the top barrier keeping you from adopting new technology? And your answer options are upfront cost or costs that don't align with the firm's cash flow, convincing others in the firm of the value or the ROI, client adoption, they're not tech savvy enough, firm capacity or implementation requirements, or none, no barriers. I know we need to be more tech forward. So pick the answer that is most closely aligned with your firm's situation. Again, if you have any trouble answering that online, you can type your answer in the Ask a Question box and we'll record it there.
Okay, some early results coming in from that polling question. It seems like upfront costs or costs that don't align with firm cash flow is the number one answer. The second answer is firm capacity or implementation requirements. And actually, I'm glad that you're all answering in those two ways, because those are definitely things that we are going to talk about later in terms of the actionable strategies when looking at a technology adoption. That comes with an evaluation. So yes, you have to sit through a software demonstration. You have to talk with a sales rep. So I'm going to give you some strategies in that regard, even some questions to ask, some things to keep in mind that will help with that whole process. So making it more meaningful for people at the firm. So there's a plan, and it's repeatable over and over, depending on what types of things you want to address in the firm. There is one of the, it's about 13% is client adoption, clients not being tech savvy enough. That's one of the other things. I think I put that into one of the talking points on a later slide. That's something that you should look for during a software demonstration if it's client facing. So if there's a software that you're evaluating that will help with client workflows as well as the firm workflow, then you need to see what the clients see. Make sure to ask that. If you don't think you're going to be seeing that, you need to ask to see it. That's one of the things that a lot of firms that I talk to, they really want to see. They want to make sure that it's going to be easy enough for clients to utilize as well. Because just to give a little bit more background with SafeSend, yes, SafeSend is a tool that helps with workflow automation in the firm, but we also have a client experience that makes it easy for clients to complete all of those tasks that they need to complete for you anyway. But that's a topic for a different time. Now we'll move on to the next slide here. Not that one. Sorry, that was the polling question. So what needs to happen in the firm to realize the benefits of technology? First, you need to identify a person or a small team of people in the firm to lead the tech decisions. Maybe that's you, because you are the owner of the firm or the sole proprietor. Maybe you have a couple of trusted admin staff that do a lot of the manual tasks right now that you would like to help automate or streamline for them. Identify those people who can help lead the tech decisions, and trust them. If you are identifying these people, you've obviously had them in mind for a specific reason. Trust their perception of that software, and then yes, do your due diligence as well, but let them be kind of the leaders in that way. Next, you need to map out your processes and workflows, and you can get pretty granular with this if you really wanted to, or you can make it a little more general. But the goal for this is to identify any bottlenecks in the process or areas that could use some streamlining or automation. So, there's a lot of CPAs that I talk to that say, well, actually the bottleneck is with me because I spend a lot of time reviewing the return. So that there's technology solutions out there that can help with that. That's fine. Focus on that. If there are bottlenecks where at a certain point in the season, you've got preparers that are waiting for client documents to come in. Maybe they're in, but the admin staff is trying to put them in some type of order that makes sense for the preparer, so they're not just giving the preparer a shoebox full of papers. I know that still happens. Hopefully it's not happening in your firm. So that's the key here, is to map out all of those processes and workflows. Get as nitty-gritty as you think you need to be to identify where those slowdowns happen. And then work on finding technologies to help with that specific area. Maybe there's technologies out there, and I'm sure there are. I actually definitely know that address multiple things, but you can focus on that one particular area first when you implement that software. That will make things more streamlined in the firm, and then you can work on other things. Maybe even create a list of highest priority in terms of the processes and workflows, all the way down to least priority. Then, when you're going to evaluate the providers, have a checklist to evaluate them against. There's a lot of things that you could put on this checklist, but if you need some ideas for that, the next slide will help. You can certainly download the slide deck through the webinar presentation, or when I share the next screen, if you just wanted to take a quick screenshot of that, that's definitely going to help with that checklist if you're kind of stuck on ideas. Also, you need to embrace the change. That word change, that has a lot of gravity to it. Change in a lot of forms is hard. Let's be real. Humans, we get into habits. Breaking those habits is hard. There are a couple of things to remember, though. To be viable, at some point, some type of change is inevitable. There's a couple of things to remember, though, that might be helpful. And this is based on my observations. Some firms try to shoehorn a software tool into their current processes. That's okay only a small percentage of the time. If you are willing to take a hard look and change a few reasonable things around in order to adopt technology, that will eventually save you time and money while making your work lives easier. Then the better off you'll be. Also, with clients, advocate to them. Be willing to push your clients to use new technology. Some firms are doing an opt-out versus opt-in. That's okay for a while. Some firms are just saying, okay, we found this way. We've tested it out last year, and that's a phased approach that we'll talk about in a minute. But we've tested it out. We know this works. This is the process that we're going to go through. You're going to receive these forms this way. You're going to get communications from this certain software. We're going to do things differently here. Give it a chance. It will be better. If they've been with you long enough, they'll trust you. I know that there will be some clients that kick and scream. That's okay at some point, but there comes a time when you just have to say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is going to be beneficial for everybody. So now that checklist. There are 5 things I think that really should be on a checklist. The top 3 are really important, I feel. Like I said, if you needed to take a screenshot of this slide to save somewhere, please go ahead. Otherwise, you can download the PowerPoint presentation as well. The top 3, I think, are of the highest importance. So first of all, take a look at the provider's research and development track record and roadmap. If it's not part of a presentation or some type of marketing material that that the company provides to you already, ask for it. Ask them to go through that verbal history of the company, where they came from. You need to see where they came from. And second, the provider should have a commitment to an open ecosystem. This comes into play in a couple of different ways. Remember those API connections that I talked about earlier. An open ecosystem makes it possible to connect more things in your tech stack for future improvements. So you could have this one software, it has open ecosystem, then maybe another one that you're looking at that seems to be really great doesn't, and you wished that those two would talk to each other. Well, an open ecosystem with API connections is something that is necessary to get them to communicate if they don't have a partnership already. The third, strong customer references is another important factor. Don't be afraid to ask for these. If you're in a demonstration or in some kind of talks with a technology provider, ask them for references. Seek out people that you trust in your area, or maybe a colleague across the country that you know uses that particular software that you're evaluating. Get their input on that software. Strong reference there and a recommendation, that goes even further to saying, okay, this could be right for your firm. Fourth, simple pricing aligned with your firm's economics. Now, there was a survey question before where it said the upfront cost. With some softwares, that can seem a little high. But again, we looked at how HonCamp compared their paper process with their electronic process of a new technology that they adopted. Yes, there was a cost for that software, but they ended up with a savings in terms of the process. Now, what I would suggest when you're on a either a demonstration or some type of pricing call with a sales rep for that technology company, press them to tell you all about their pricing. And don't be afraid to ask if there's any additional fees that you'll see with certain usage of the program. There are some software programs that make their pricing very transparent, very easy to understand, and it's cut and dry. There are others that you might sign on and then you're using the program up to a certain point, and then a switch flips in the background. You went over a certain storage limit. Now you're going to have to pay some additional storage fees. That is something that you should have known prior to getting into that. And if you're expecting that and you're okay with that, fine. More power to you if you think that's the right technology solution for you. But if you don't want to be surprised by additional fees, talk with that sales rep. Ask them to tell you about any additional fees. And that kind of goes back to a strong customer reference as well. Ask them. They probably won't want to discuss dollars and cents to you, but ask them, hey, did you incur any incidentals using this software? And just see what they say. And then finally on this list, if that provider is focused on the tax and accounting industry, then, well, at least in my opinion, you'll know that you'll get tools that will be worthwhile for your workflow. Why do I know this? Because I work for one of those companies that is in the tax and accounting industry. Any technology company in this industry that is worth their salt, they are going to be very customer focused. They're going to have customer advisory board meetings where their power users of their platform get together for a summit, basically, and go through the different products that they offer, how they can be improved for a workflow, any type of emerging technologies that that might not be a part of that particular platform at that point that those customers want to have because they've heard about the latest and greatest and they want to know. That's something that you should definitely be on the lookout for. Let's also go over some common misconceptions. We talked about this a couple of times. Cost. Another software is an added cost. Actually, you'd be able to reduce adjacent costs or vendors with the right technology solutions. Notice I'm saying right technology solutions because only you can decide what is right for your firm at any given time. Now, there are many firms, in terms of cost, they pass that on in the form of a technology fee to their clients. If the pricing is simple enough, then the cost per client should be reasonable. So that's another reason why really dig into the pricing. Another misconception, my client won't adopt a new process. Well, we saw some stats earlier on the impact of COVID on taxpayer behavior. Something we tracked here at SafeSend is that out of all the tax returns our system delivered to clients in a given tax year, 1.5 million returns were delivered to taxpayers aged 55 or over. And they all completed the signature of their 8879s for their CPA. Another thing that I have experience with is talking to SafeSend's current customers, because I get the question all the time, this seems great for my, my millennial clients, but I don't know about the elderly clients. Oh, okay, well, what age are they typically? Well, 80, 85, that kind of thing. Well, one of our current customers has said, with the right technology that makes it easy for clients, then they actually appreciate that kind of thing. We talked about the doctor's portals and that kind of thing. If they can navigate a doctor's portal, having something that is easier to use than that for a client, they will appreciate that. So something to consider there. And finally, my firm doesn't have the capacity to learn a new software. At certain points of the year, that could be valid, but there are many solutions out there that are user-friendly enough to the point where they require as little as 5 hours of total staff training. So if you're looking for a technology that helps enhance the tax engagement workflow, you should be able to phase that adoption. I mentioned that a little bit before. So if you are talking about the last mile of that tax engagement, getting the tax return delivered for e-signature to a client, if that's more of a priority to enhancing your firm, start there. Then you can work on other processes at another time. Future-proofing your practice. Tech-forward firms will be ready while others scramble to catch up. Most modern technology solutions offer scalable infrastructure that grows with your firm and adapts to market changes. That would be something else to take a look at during your evaluation. APIs again. This connectivity allows for software tool integration and new solutions to emerge. Cloud-based architecture, which is what a lot of technology solutions are nowadays, they allow for increased flexibility in work models like remote or hybrid and greater security. Aligning to client expectations of digital service becomes the norm instead of an exception. Technology solutions for the tax and accounting industry have regulatory compliance built in. This is especially useful as requirements become more complex. The tech-forward firm also has standardized and documented processes, which means they are merger and acquisition ready and will command a higher value. So if your firm is in that life cycle, you should take a look at that, that kind of thing. The last topic here, AI. Some people dread that, but it's really nothing to be afraid of. There's a few key things to remember here, though. In the last year alone, there have been a number of AI tools announced or released that are specific to the taxing and accounting industry. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about ChatGPT or Grok or any other open source AI. I'm talking about AI embedded into programs that have already been in the tax and accounting space, tools that you've heard of. What tax and accounting software companies are doing now is leveraging AI to help firms with things like document recognition to automatically categorize and organize documents, so staff doesn't have to spend time on what I call document triage. You know, you've all had clients that either upload or electronically send you documents with file names like tax doc or scan 123. When a client does this, someone has to open the file, identify it, and rename it. Busy work. AI can automatically do this. There are also AI tools for intelligent data extraction from tax forms. Not simply OCR, but either AI-assisted OCR, which is much better than the traditional, or it's AI alone. AI can also be leveraged for automated deadline tracking and reminders. Smart document request lists that are specific to each client, generated in seconds. Predictive analytics for workflow optimization and natural language processing to help summarize or even generate client communications. Now, here's a tip for you. If you are still cautious about AI and it's mentioned during your technology evaluations, ask how the AI was developed. Ask whether that system makes a call to open source AI or if the AI was developed as a proprietary closed source. Key difference there. So you can ask that. In my experience, the closed source AI, much more secure than that open source. All right, it is time for our final polling question. So Gail, if you could please launch that.
Okay, the final question is, are you interested in learning more about SafeSend? And your answer options are yes, no, or just here for CPE credits. So please go ahead and pick one and hit the submit button. I'm going to turn this off real quickly because I have a cleaning crew outside my office door making a lot of noise. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you. I am kind of curious about your answers to this question, so we'll wait just a couple of minutes here. All right, so for those that have answered C, just here for the CPE credits, I hope I gave you some great insight on things that can be actionable at the firm, things to ask during a software demonstration. You know, if you were ever to investigate SafeSend and you're on a demonstration with me, please feel free to ask what you think are uncomfortable questions. I'm happy to answer those at any time. Any other software company that is reputable should be able to do that too. You know, take it from me. You should ask those questions. So hopefully that was helpful for you. And for those that are interested in learning more about SafeSend, I'm sure that we'll have some. I'll have some contact information. We can get you in contact with someone here to either get some more info or schedule a demonstration, whatever you'd like to do. For those who actually aren't interested in SafeSend, thank you for attending. Again, I hope you're like the others that were just here for the CPE credits and you've gotten something actionable out of this, and you'll be able to take that back to the firm when you're doing a technology evaluation and potential adoption. The future is coming, ready or not. So again, thank you all for attending today. I'm going to take a quick check if there are some questions in the Q&A. I'll be here to handle those until the top of the hour, and then if I don't get to them, we'll get those answered by email.
Okay, thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate this. A lot of great information, and we want to thank all of you who attended today. And we'd like to thank SafeSend for making this event possible and enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to each attendee. As a reminder, you'll receive a link to the CPE credit later in your email. It'll be a message from CPA Practice Advisor, so look for that. If you have any questions about CPE, you can contact me directly at gperry, Gperry, at cpapracticeadvisor.com. Also, if others are watching this event with you at the same computer and they require CPE credit, you can email me their names and addresses. Again, that's gperry at cpapracticeadvisor.com. Okay, and I think we have a couple questions coming in. I don't know if there are any you can handle there, David.
Yep, there was one here that says, can you give examples of AI that can help with the applications you mentioned? Yes, I certainly can. So with SafeSend in particular, we have an AI tool that will help with automatically generating document request lists from a tax program organizer. And you just upload the organizer into the system. That creates the client's custom document request. You can get that sent out to clients. They upload to the SafeSend platform. Then when they upload documents, like I was mentioning, that tax doc or scan 123, then our AI assistant in that gather tool helps with organization and categorization of the files. So once you've got a usable document request list, like it says Bank of America 1099 INT, which is what you're looking for, but they upload something that says tax doc. If that is actually the 1099 INT from Bank of America, Gather will recognize it, categorize it, check it off of the list for the client. So that's one example. If the firm is already using other tools for like a portal system, secure file transfer, take a look at, just go to their site and take a look at what they might have for AI. A few that I know that are coming out with some AI tools to help. TaxDome, Canopy, Carbon. Let's see, the front end Stanford Tax, they're doing some things with AI. Let's see, there's a number of others. I know I'm going to forget some, but their AI will all do various things. Sometimes a deviation of kind of what I just talked about, really what the SafeSend AI will do, but it's worth investigation. If you already have one of those tools, take a look, see what they have for AI. Let's see. The other question here, do I find that the firms shifting from costs saved to actual value? So that's kind of a loaded type of question there, and I don't know if that user is still on. It's Glenn that asked the question with some other context too, in terms of like time saved, billable hours, that kind of thing. Shifting from costs to actual value, yes, there's a lot of firms that are going to a value-based model for for their engagements. So that's, that's something that some firms are doing, but that's all the time we have. So sorry I wasn't able to answer that further, but we'll get some information out to you.
All right. Thanks again, Dave. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We're going to present a post-event evaluation survey on your screen right now. We hope you'll take a moment to fill that out so we can continue to improve our webinar series. Thank you again, and our audio will end now.